This video brought to you by Manscaped. Right now 20% off plus free shipping with code FILMENTO.
Time for the mortals to pay. My child waits to do your will.
Despite the overwhelming dislike generated by 2010's Clash of the Titans, the movie was still financially successful enough for the studio behind it to say,
"Let's do that again!" No!
And so with 2012's Wrath of the Titans, they did. They made the same overall movie. Half-god Perseus is living as a humble fisherman when his family is attacked by a non-human being because humans don't pray to the gods anymore, prompting him to go on a journey with a small pack of soldiers to collect this OP weapon and fly it in to destroy the big CGI monstrosity. And the results run very much in line with the definition of insanity.
Insanity is doing the exact same thing over and over again, thinking this time is going to be different. That is crazy.
Yeah, the reception in general wasn't that much better, and this time most people weren't fooled into the theaters anymore, understandably so. The human characters are all so blank and uninteresting that it's impossible to care about what they're doing.
I have a son now.
I know.
My wife,
I know.
The mythological creatures are so out of nowhere and short-lived that they can only be laughed at. Even the dry, ruined aesthetic of the movie at times gets so repetitively boring that you really have to fight not to fall asleep, because a lot of it just looks the same. I mean, whereas the finale of the first movie was about defending this port city, here we're just standing in a desert with nothing there to even defend. But all that said, what's very interesting about Wrath of the Titans is that even though it in some standalone aspects does even worse than its predecessor, as a whole it's still a fantastic sequel. Now, what I mean with fantastic is less about the overall quality of the movie and more about the more specific ways it builds and improves upon the original as a sequel. A few pretty fantastic ways that every sequel should learn from. All those core problems we identified with Clash, for example, this film very deliberately addresses and fixes. And so even though it could be useful to return to this world to find additional problems to learn from, it might be even more useful and also fair to instead identify the fixes to the earlier problems as well as other positive sequel qualities. And so let's do that. Let's look at a few different key ways Wrath builds upon Clash, as well as how it very deliberately repairs some of its biggest flaws. Here's a few useful things to keep in mind when making a sequel. The first sequel aspect to note here is that even though this movie takes us on a very familiar journey, that journey in practice is often handled so differently that it still feels fresh and new. The inciting incident, for example, on paper is the exact same as last time. Perseus is living as a humble fisherman away from the gods when suddenly a non-human being shows up to attack the people around him, including his family. But whereas last time that attack ended in his family's demise, this time Right, so this time we're not just watching as the bad thing happens, but instead take action to save our family from it. Meaning that we're not then motivated by hatred and revenge as in the original, but more by a hopeful prevention of what's coming. In other words, the result of going on the journey is the same, but the launching pad and emotional charge for the journey is very different. As another example, the other event that's the same right away is the meeting of the gods. Zeus is intending to work together with Hades, who, surprise surprise, isn't intending to work together at all. But whereas last time Hades was scheming behind Zeus's back, this time his true intentions are brought on the table right away.
Our Father has offered us a deal. He will allow we few gods who remain to keep our immortality. We simply offer him the last of your divine powers so that he may free himself.
Again, we have the same world-defining rivalry of Zeus versus Hades, but now it's played in the light instead of the shadows. Now we're in Hades' kingdom, which shakes up the power dynamics. Now there's also the third wheel in form of Zeus' son Ares, who hates him even more than Hades does.
Why don't you weep like your favorite son?
Ares, enough.
All of which allows the movie to use the same core relationship between the same two core characters, but played out in a very different way.
What do you want, brother? Great ruler of the underworld. Allow us to enter.
And you'll find the same mentality of familiar but different being applied almost always. Perseus does go meet the local army like last time, but now he's the one being active. Now he's greeted with respect instead of contempt. Now the familiar character threat of a half-god not wanting anything to do with gods is a problem caused by someone else that we have to deal with.
I don't care what they are. Use them. No! I will not use that sword or anything that they give me. I'm not touching that again.
We do meet a non-human character to guide us on our journey, but this time the guide is a bit less stoically stone-like.
He's the one who taught me to navigate.
That and how to seduce a mermaid, which seemed random at the time but came in handy.
We do get hunted by an enemy on our tail, but this time that enemy is the one pulling the strings who we can't compete with. We do go on a journey to get this OP weapon that can kill the big CGI monster, but this time the main goal of the journey is to save Zeus and the weapon more of a result born from it.
Thanks.
We do clash against the scary mythological beast in its lair like last time, but this time it has no build-up and is laughably effortlessly easy. Well, actually, that's not very positive at all. And so, when you add changes like these to alter the template of your original movie, you also have to ensure that they increase the difficulty. The finale here, for example, is about Hades and Zeus distracting the big CGI monstrosity to make it easier for Perseus to fly in and destroy it, which dynamically is very different from last time when Perseus at the same time had to worry about fighting Hades. But in practice, it just means that this time Perseus has less to worry about. And that's not how a sequel should be. Things can't get easier than they were last time. What's the point of climbing Mount Everest only to come back and climb the skiing hill behind the hotel? So, when building your sequel, keep the fundamentals that most define the original and play them out in a fresh new way. In a way that's also more difficult. Take it from this movie or from Terminator 2. The second sequel aspect to notice is how this film very often continues and expands on ideas from before to justify and elevate them, regardless of whether they were home runs last time or not. The central narrative driving crux here, for example, is that the gods are losing their power due to a lack of human prayer and respect, which is a direct continuation from 2 years ago. Except this time, it's pushed way further. We're seeing little sign of religion and faith. We're seeing once mighty shrines in ruin. We're seeing the greatest of gods turn to dust. You know, the main plot catalyst here is the gods' loss of control over this ancient evil. As in, even though this narrative thread wasn't handled too well previously, this movie still chooses to honor that foundation we spent 2 hours building by doing something more and better with it.
The humans may have stopped praying to us, but there are consequences.
Same thing with the gods and their relationships, for example. We continue the rivalry between Zeus and Hades from before and expand on it much further. Zeus isn't just a blind, whiny bitch anymore, but instead acknowledges that perhaps he's made some mistakes.
I am so sorry for having banished you.
Hades isn't just a bad guy anymore, but instead begins showing signs of humanity even.
I'm afraid, brother. Is that what you want me to say? I'm a god, and I'm afraid.
And then we also have Ares, who is basically a negative physical manifestation of Zeus's love of humans and Perseus that was a big part of the last movie. In a way that, again, the 2 hours we spent last time has now led us to this next elevated step.
Of course, you had some help. A sword, the Pegasus.
A coin to the underworld, the hot girlfriend.
You're the son of Zeus, after all.
Only when it suits you. You remember I am your son.
Since last time the main part of the story was about the existence of a half-god, this time there's more of them. Last time we were fighting a man powered by a god, this time we're fighting a god. Last time the gods were growing weak, this time they're dying. Last time there was this backstory about overpowered titans.
Time before man and gods, when titans ruled the earth.
This time the main titan awakes. Point is, all these ideas and elements from before aren't just abandoned or recycled, but instead used as groundwork to build higher than before. If not to make things bigger, then at least to make them feel bigger, which is what every sequel should aim for. It doesn't always work here, of course, but even then the mentality has its uses. The hot angel woman actor, for example, didn't come back, so she was killed off and replaced with a boy she had with Perseus. And while we don't really care about the boy because he's so poorly handled and has no established connection with his mother, at the very least his existence justifies the time we spent with her last time. You know, at least there's something to show for that relationship so that it doesn't feel like it was for nothing. There's a conclusion and a result. Because if you want to find a sequel where elements from before are just abandoned because it didn't work before, or recycled because it worked before so why bother, all you have to do is look at the latest blockbuster. Like, it's not too difficult to imagine a Clash of the Titans sequel where Hades again goes behind Zeus's back to secretly awaken the Titan because he's an angry bad guy, where Zeus again doesn't realize because he's an idiot, where Perseus again is crying about not wanting to be half a god, and where everything else is just a different variable from a different movie. Not everything can or should come back, but when making a sequel, just keep in mind that the tower you're building will always by default be that much higher when built on an existing foundation. The third key sequel thing to notice and applaud here is how this movie very deliberately fixes the problems of before. Like the main harmful negatives we identified about Clash, all of it has been addressed. One issue with the original we touched on was the character's inability to live up to their epic titles. We had a son of Zeus who was so passive and useless and constantly assisted that most of what he did could have been done by Peter, the son of Jim. We had actual gods who were just mostly standing around whining and letting other people do their work for them in a way that nobody wants to see.
Set an example, brother. Turn them on each other.
You will be my weapon.
Oh my god, you're both literal gods, do something. Whereas this time the inherently big characters are made to fill their inherently big shoes. At least mostly, but you gotta start somewhere. Perseus is the one being active, he's the one pushing the plot. He's facing monsters and obstacles himself instead of having them be faced for him by everyone else around him. Overall, he's behaving much more on a level possible only for a son of Zeus. And on the god side, we have Ares actually going after Perseus himself as the god of war would. We have Zeus and Hades, well, finally meeting the bar of being Zeus and Hades.
They will pray again, and you will bathe in them.
The other main issue last time on the creature side was how the main mythological beasts either coasted on their legend alone or didn't organically fit the story. The main CGI monstrosity Kraken never got any build-up in addition to being Kraken. It was quickly mentioned in the beginning as Hades' pet and then never actually appeared in any way until like 5 minutes before the end. Then we also had Medusa, who was well built up and handled, but had nothing to do with the story outside of just happening to be so overpowered that the story could be solved with her.
There is a solution. Medusa, anything of flesh, is killed by her gaze.
Oh, well, isn't that convenient?
Whereas this time, the main Titan CGI monstrosity Kronos is actually built up. We can see him draining Zeus's power. We can see the fearful reaction his growing presence causes in the gods. We can see glimpses of the uncontrollable destruction he will bring. The payoff itself may not be so great, but at least leading up to it, you can to some extent learn to appreciate the name Kronos, whether you've heard it before or not. And as for the weapon used to kill Kronos, it isn't just any random overpowered weapon, but instead very specifically the one and only organic solution to this story.
Put those together to form the spear of Trium. the weapon that gods used to defeat Kronos.
Which is exactly what I was saying Medusa should have been, so credit where credit's due. And then the final issue we discussed last time was how none of the inherent epicness of the world made any sense. We had verbal power dynamics that were all over the place, with Kraken for example being stronger than any god, but still not strong enough to be used to kill Zeus. We had nonsensical rules where Hades, for example, couldn't kill Perseus himself because Zeus would notice, except with poison, which was okay.
Venom from Hades.
We had the prayer strike with no explained origin. We had Perseus declining all godly gifts except when the story required it. We had future-seeing oracles who couldn't actually, you know.
You will die, son of Zeus.
It's a lie. Come.
Written is history. You will die.
Whereas this time, much more comprehensible. The verbal power dynamics are boiled down to the crux that Kronos is more powerful than any god with only one weakness. The elaborate rules of engagement are avoided by just having Ares go and try to kill Perseus himself. Perseus is motivated by his objective above all else. The prayer strike is a result of something specific with clear visual consequences as well. Overall, this movie does a much better job at presenting that same inherently epic world in a way that makes sense. And the term better job is the thing I want you to take away here, because even though Wrath of the Titans might not be the greatest movie, it's still highly applaudable how it as a sequel doesn't just shy away from the key aspects that didn't work before and instead deliberately efforts to make them work. And that's the most important quality of any great sequel. All of the stuff we've talked about today can be useful, but at the end of the day, every sequel in existence has just one main goal: to identify what's good and especially bad about the predecessor and do it better. But as one last thing, for the guys out here that I couldn't convince last time, here's another better articulated Filmento sponsor offer from Manscaped, who just released their brand new Lawnmower 4.0 body trimmer. I totally understand something like this might feel unnecessary for first-timers, because that's how I felt, but now after using it I can also tell you that it's very useful. The thing is waterproof, wireless, has LED lights and special skin-safe technology, which makes it very easy and safe for you to trim down your body and groin area, which you do want to do to feel great as well as look at least presentable in front of, for example, the girl that you might meet now that people are meeting again. The same performance package also comes with their Weed Whacker nose and ear trimmer to effortlessly clear those areas, as well as a couple different magic potions to keep your family jewels fresh and cozy in your pants all throughout the day. And right now you'll also get 2 free gifts in form of a high-quality travel bag as well as a pair of comfortable anti-shaving boxers. So if I did a better job at selling you this time, click the link below and use code Filmento to get the Manscaped Performance Package 4.0 for 20% off with free international shipping. Helps the channel as well, so thank you.